Okay, so The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was released over 4 years ago, and it is still my favorite game on the Nintendo Switch. So when a sequel to Breath of the Wild was announced, I was hyped. Now, Breath of the Wild is an incredible game, but the untitled sequel to Breath of the Wild could potentially be an even better game. And so in this video, I want to talk about why that is. Alright, so what made Breath of the Wild so damn good was the open world exploration. From the moment you jumped off the Great Plateau, Hyrule was yours to explore. You could do literally whatever the heck you wanted to do. Now, the reason why I'm bringing up how good the open world was in Breath of the Wild is because this was not only the largest open world Zelda game, this was Nintendo's largest open world game. So if the development team could make the open world in Breath of the Wild so freaking good, with it being their first time creating an open world game this large, imagine how good Breath of the Wild 2's open world could be now that the development team have experience working on a large open world game. It's kind of crazy to me that the team that worked on Breath of the Wild had literally no experience working on an open world game this big, but Breath of the Wild still ended up being an incredible open world game. So now that the dev team have experience creating a huge open world game, I think the open world in Breath of the Wild 2 will be amazing. The story in Breath of the Wild was kind of weird. Seeing as you could complete the main story in whatever order you wanted, the fact that there was even a good story was pretty crazy. But holy crap, there is much more that the developers could have gone into, which leads me to believe that the story in Breath of the Wild 2 has so much potential. Breath of the Wild ends with Zelda saying something about how she wants to go help out the Zoras, and this in itself could be a great plot point in Breath of the Wild 2. Maybe Zelda and Link have to venture across Hyrule to help out everyone affected by Calamity Ganon, which is basically everyone that lives in Hyrule. Then on top of that, there are so many questions that Breath of the Wild brings up that need to be answered. What was going on with Mipha and Link? Why is Revali so freaking mean? Why are males not allowed into Gerudo Town? Scattered across Hyrule in Breath of the Wild are hundreds of ruined buildings, and so seeing as Breath of the Wild 2 is going to take place after Breath of the Wild, there's heaps of potential to see all these buildings get rebuilt, and to have to complete quests to actually fix some of these buildings. Tarrey Town was a really fun side quest, and so I think it would be pretty cool to have to rebuild a bunch of buildings by gathering a bunch of materials, and maybe you could have to try to recruit people to move into the new buildings. Now, since Breath of the Wild was released, there have been thousands of videos discussing everything about the game, from what it does really well to what it doesn't do so well. I imagine that this would be a great thing for the developers, as there is so much feedback available to them. So the dev team are able to know what people liked and what people didn't like about Breath of the Wild. So if the dev team look at what people liked about Breath of the Wild and replicate it in Breath of the Wild 2, and on the other hand, if the dev team look at what people did not like about Breath of the Wild and fix those problems in Breath of the Wild 2, the game will simply be amazing and people will love it. So those are just a few of my thoughts on the upcoming sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. But what do you think? Are you excited for the game or are you gonna skip over it? Let me know in the comments so we can talk about it. While you're at it, you may as well leave a like, and if you're feeling extra nice, you could even subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.